Hello, everyone. Back for another year. Traditional end of year chat with my good friend Simon Johnson here as we sort of recap the year primarily at Sailing.Dog, the website and social media presence that Simon has created for me. My name's Andrew Palfrey. Been involved in sailing, the sport of sailing, for quite a long time now. Both in as a sailor and a coach, and making some bits and bobs, primarily for the Etchells class to help people get the most out of their boats. And joined by Simon over there in Dublin. So Simon, here we go, mate. Another year down, and another year of not performing on a social media sense, in a social media sense. So sorry about that.
We try our best, don't we? Try our best. Yeah, for people who don't know me, my name is Simon Johnson, based in Dublin, Ireland. I look after the, like Dog said, I used to work in digital consultancy before I got into sailing, professional sailing. And so I help a few teams, different people across the sailing that I work with, look after social media, build websites, that kind of stuff. So it's obviously a very arduous process trying to do it with Dog these days, but no, it's all good. It's fun. This is our third year of doing the podcast. So in preparation for this Dog, actually, I decided to use AI. It's considering it is 2025. I decided to look up what Dog actually, like a little biog on Dog. And part of the thing that read was beyond his own racing, he has served as a head coach at the highest level of the sport, including the America's Cup and numerous World Championship winning Grand Prix programs. Based now in the UK, he runs his own performance consultancy, Sailing.Dog, where he's considered one of the industry's premium technical super coaches. Which I had such an awesome term, super coach. I didn't even know that. Now you can put that down your CV. I'm not just going to coach you. I'm going to super coach you.
Well,
Brilliant. You
gee,
just doubled your day rate.
that's very humbling. I guess you can't control what's on there, but I've got to be happy with that, I guess.
I like it. I was
Yeah,
super
I might take a
coach.
look into the rates as well, Simon. I think you're right there. Yeah, yeah, you're selling myself short. But Simon, you've had a really busy year as well. What have you been up to?
Yeah. No, it started out in January. I normally don't do a lot of sailing in January, or start of February, like, but this year is pretty. I sailed Choose the Volvo 70, so we had a fair big old year this year. Like, to do the transatlantic race from Lanzarote across, starting in January. We won that, and then doing all the 600, won that as well. And Choose, the boat's just it's a phenomenal boat. And to be fair, we had a very solid team on board as well, and me. Then did some stuff with Galatea, did the new North Sound Regatta in Virgin Gorda, which is very cool. It's the first year they'd run it. So it's kind of an invitation only super yacht event. So it's like, how many boats? Eight, 10 boats in Virgin Gorda. You raced in Virgin Gorda before, haven't you? With the
I've never been
44?
there. No,
I thought
no.
maybe
I've
you've
done
been.
very little in the Caribbean, actually.
Yeah. We did two 44 events in Virgin Gorda back
Yes,
in the day. That must have
yes.
been, actually, I was texting.
Before my time, those ones.
Before your time. Yeah, actually, I was texting Cam Appleton yesterday about it. Actually, it was 2014. My son was looking through. I never thought the annuals, the 44 annuals they have.
Mm.
Yeah, you hold on to these. I held on to the 2014 one, and my son was actually looking through it last night. And it's one of those things, and when you actually get it, whatever that was 12, 11 years ago, you don't really appreciate it. But you fast forward 11 years, I have my
Yeah,
7-year-old son on the floor going,
yeah.
"Oh, there's my dad. There's that guy." He's met some of the guys, some different sailing events, things like that, and you
That's
can
cool.
recognize them all. It's a long time ago now, like. Um, yes, then did do sled with the 52s as well. I did a decent season with them. Finished second overall, which is good.
That's
So
very
solid.
solid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, a solid year. Third last year in the season, second this year. So that was a good year. Quantum walked away with it as usual. Um, some more Galatea stuff. Won the Maxis in September, which is nice. After a big old campaign, 7 events this year in Galatea, and another 7 next year, which on a 100 footer is no mean feat whatsoever.
Mm.
Across the Caribbean and Europe, it's a big program. You got 30 something, 20 something crew on the boat. I don't know how many permanent shore crew. Six, eight shore crew. It's a big old program. A lot of organization goes into doing 7 events, 10 days each event. What I mean, so it's a lot of sailing. As sorry, and also you're doing major upgrades throughout all that as well.
Yeah.
With the ballast, longer bowsprit, longer, excuse me, longer boom. Um, Stuff like that. Yeah, it's just so much going on that you need to get into as well. Like I mean, throughout the year, it's very competitive. The 100 foot class at the moment is very competitive, very
Yeah.
competitive. A lot of money being spent, and then unfortunately, normally the Black Star stuff as well, but unfortunately, the Black Star stuff folded this year. We didn't do
That's
the
in the
first event.
RC44. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we did the first. We didn't do the first event. We didn't do the last event, but we've kind of had a reshuffle, and we've managed to get Christian back on board for
Oh,
2026.
that's fantastic
Which
news.
is
Oh,
good.
good.
Yeah, yeah. He's a great guy, and he's young, relative to you, dog. But he's a great partner as well. Ava, who's very supportive of him doing the sailing, and we've got him to go again in 2026 with a decent squad. A couple of good guys have said before and from Aqua and things that like I mean, so it'll be a very interesting year, so it'll be good.
And
It's,
I did a lot this year, and quite a diverse set of activities, really. And just listening to you talk about 100 footers and transatlantic races, like when you're at sea for weeks. It's such a diverse sport. It's so far removed from really what I do in my little area of the sport. And then you've got the America's Cup and Sail GP on foils, and a whole new generation of young sailors coming through, really obsessed with foiling, and
yeah,
and rightly so. It's yeah, the diversity in the sport's never been as stark really as now,
yeah,
which is very cool. So yeah, really the first thing was a big highlight of my year was winning a world championship actually in the 5.5 meter class back in June in Poland. And for those that know me, are sort of aware of what I've been up to the last few years. We were very lucky here during the COVID time. Actually, it was coincidental, but we'd started developing and building some 5.5 meter yachts with Peter Morton, aka Morty, and that took place between sort of 2020 really and 2021, the builds. And it's a great time in my life, and not only helping to build the boats through two great boat builders here in Cowes, with David Heritage and Gavin Tappenden, but the development around that, and then hanging out with Morty, and witnessing how he operates and his thought processes when it comes to sailing and campaigning boats and tweaking boats. And we won the Worlds in 2022 in Norway, and in the lead up to that one, Morty became ill and needed some medical treatment and had to pull out.
yeah,
Um, and it was amazing that he got us together, the crew, which we had Elliot Hansen was going to do the bow, and myself in the middle, and Morty driving. But he got us together and said, "Look, I can't go, but this has been quite the journey of building these boats and developing these boats and testing them and trialing them. I'd like you guys to go." So Elliot, Elliot's a great sailor. He'd represented Great Britain in the laser class. Elliot, you're driving. And our coach, Sam Haynes, Sam, you're doing the front. And off we went, and we won those worlds, which was fantastic and a great validation of the whole process we went through with the boats. Um, but it still felt a bit hollow because Morty wasn't there with us. He was on the end of a phone line every night. Uh, and this year, so I guess just to lead in, we went to the Alpen Cup in May, Lake Garda. Incredible surroundings as always. Traditional season opener for the class, really well supported. I had almost sort of 20 boats, and
Sorry,
we
is that
won.
usual? Is 2020 boats is usual that you get?
It's up there. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's more than normal, but it's such a
yeah.
draw to go and sail, in the north end of Lake Garda. And we won that event. Um, and it's an event we've done really well in over the last sort of handful of years. I think we've won five
Is
of the
it,
last
as I
six.
say that, a slight understatement when you've won five the last 6 years, is it?
Yeah, and the one we didn't win actually was a brand new boat. It was a second of our Holland design boats, and the rudder broke.
Yeah,
The whole rudder stock snapped
yeah,
in race two. I think we'd won race one. It snapped in race two, and we tried to fix it that night. It's a heroic effort from local boat builders, and we were leading the next race. The next morning, it snapped again. So that was the one we didn't win. But really good competition. Some great sailors in the fleet, and we do have a boat that is definitely hedged towards the conditions you see at Lake Garda, that stronger winds. So that was great. And then we went to a place called Sopot between Gdynia and Gdansk in Poland, and we we got off to a bit of a rough start. Actually, we had our conditions definitely the first sort of oh, day or two. No, sorry. First day was light, and we had a great day. Lighter, we had a great day. We had a one and a G5 or something like that.
yeah,
Next day it was windy, and we didn't take advantage of that. We trawled the spinnaker very badly coming into the bottom mark. We kind of were leading and did a bit of a Chinese jibe, almost a Chinese jibe at the worst possible time, and trawled the kite, got stuck under the boat. We came 14th. It was horrible, and and we had a forecast then of lighter conditions on the last 2 days, and I felt terrible that night. I thought we'd blown it. I thought we'd blown the chance to establish a good position in the regatta in our
yeah,
conditions.
yeah,
We're a little bit of a standout boat in that when it's windy, we do very well. But when it's light, there's basically the rest of the fleet are almost identical. So when it's light,
yeah,
we really struggle. And but fortunately for us, it did blow a little more. I think it was a level playing field those last 2 days. It was about 12 knots, and
yeah,
we really knuckled down and sailed well and started well and had the right strategy. Rory Scott sailing with us, our tactician,
yeah,
really nailed it, and Morty did an amazing job actually helming in pretty difficult pretty difficult chop. It was an onshore, like a northerly breeze there. And yeah, we came away with the chocolates in the end. We had a fair buffer because we put four really solid races together. We beat the Polish on their crew includes Mateusz Kuznierowicz, multiple Bacardi Cup
yeah,
champion and world champion in the Star. And plenty of other great sailors in the fleet. The defending world champion winners from Australia finished third, and importantly, also our sort of stable mate Louise Morton, Peter's wife, and her team of Sam Haynes and Charlie Cumley placed fourth as well, which is a great result for them. And but just the reward of seeing the satisfaction within Morty after such a long journey in that
yeah,
class. Just walked away with such a nice
yeah.
feelings from that one.
Tell me that Louise's boat, that's the Girls on Film. That's the second boat that you built during COVID that you're talking about right now.
Yeah, yeah. We
Yeah,
the primary kind of build really the focus was on the Holland design
yeah,
boat. It's the one that we invested CFD into, and the CFD was performed by an Australian designer, Steve Quigley, and who does a lot of work with Morty over at the shipyard over in East Cowes on the ferries. Great sailor himself, and well, gee, one thing led to another, and during COVID, and we ended up building another boat. We built a second boat by accident, really, and it was,
As you do.
yeah, that was a Steve Quigley design. So Steve had done the CFD, and then you know got onto us and said, "Look, I through all this work, I think I know. Well, it's clear to me why you know certain boats are going to do well in certain conditions and so on and so forth. And if I was building one myself, here's what I'd do. And
Yeah,
Morty pulled the trigger on that. And so that was a boat, cedar, strip plank cedar built over frames
yeah,
and then laminated. And that was Girls on Film. And actually, that was completed first. It was a quicker build process, and we went and won the G2021 Lake Garda event in that one. Again, a great validation. We brought that boat back and trialed the Holland boat, which was Jean Genie against her. So yeah. Anyway, it just speaks to what a wonderful sort of process we had with those
yeah,
boats, and yeah, and just being involved in the 5.5 meter class great history. The Scandinavian Gold Cup, which is sort of the pre-worlds, but it's quite a unique event in that its format is quite different. In that unless you've won a race after three races, you're excluded from competition. It's one entry per nation. I think it's the second oldest sailing trophy after the America's Cup that's still
yeah.
ongoing. And it wasn't always competed for with the by the 5.5s. It gone through a few classes. I think the 6 meters was part of it as well. So yeah, so wonderful history, great class, wonderful to be a part of. Yeah, so moving on to that one, it was around this time last year, Simon, that I got a call from Jamie Hilton, who's a great friend and great sailor from Newport, Rhode Island. I'd collaborated with him. I helped his team win the 2023 Worlds in the 6 meter in Cowes here, which is we touched on that a couple of years ago now in that chat we had.
You can always go back and listen to our old podcasts if you.
I do it most nights, don't you? Scintillating stuff. And look, Jamie had was looking for a boat to do the Worlds in 2025, which are going to be they're held every 2 years. Last Worlds were in Cowes, this year in Sewanaka on Long Island, sort of 10 miles out of New York City.
Wow.
And he was looking for an opportunity, probably a classic, low stress, and go and represent at the Worlds, and thought that was fitting given he was a reigning world champion in the class. I wanted to be a part of it. Um, he was he got onto a fella called Rainer Muller, who owns quite a lot of 6 meters, and inquired about chartering a boat
Yeah,
off him and trying to get as many of the guys, the team that he could to sail with him and go and enjoy it. And Reiner said, "Well, look, I can't really help you with the classic. They're all sort of spoken for, but would you be interested in a new boat, a new Ian Howlett designed boat?" And Jamie's like, "Hang on, hold the phone. What? What? Does such a thing exist?" He says, "Well, I'm building one, and we could look at accelerating that build process, and you and your team sailing it. That'd be a great link because the boys won in an Ian Howlett design in Cowes, a 1986 boat called Scoundrel." Uh, and Jamie called me. I think he got in touch with the guys, and there was really good interest from the crew. And then he called more discussions with Reiner, and it became apparent that the boat would struggle to make it, would struggle to be built in time to put on a ship to get it was being built actually in the UK,
yeah,
and but it would struggle to get to the Worlds unless there was an injection of more resource, basically labor and basic help. So he called me and asked if number one, I'd be interested in being involved and going over as a coach, but primarily to ensure the boat made it. If I was interested in becoming involved in helping with the project and project management and decisions
Yeah.
and execution. And I went and saw the builder, Demon Yachts, owned and run by Matt Lingley in Suffolk, actually on the east coast of England. A place called Albury, which fantastic place. If you ever get the chance to visit that area of the world, I was enchanted actually. Lovely, lovely part of the world. Uh, and I met up with Rainer and Ian Howlett and Matt at the factory in late January. And yeah, I mean, just had such a positive vibe around the project and looking at this thing starting to take shape. At that stage, they were laying spruce strip planks over some frames. And yep, I took it on, took the challenge on, and Matt basically built the boat, organized the keel to be made. He built the rudder. He built all the componentry for the boat, the hull. And my role was to sort of lighten his load really with organizing the rig, the rigging, designing the systems, the instrumentation,
Yeah.
bringing together hydraulics, bringing together all the contractors at the right time, make sure everything has arrived.
Yeah.
And then I went together with one of the crew, Dave Hughes from the US, and went and actually put all the fittings on the boat. We primarily used Harken yacht fittings, and they were really supportive as well. Harken had actually featured in one of their sort of on their website a whole bunch of photos and stuff as well. They were very proud of it, being involved. Yeah, and well, anyway, we launched the boat. Incredibly, we launched the boat at Albury, this lovely little estuary, in July, on the day, exactly the day that we'd targeted back in January. Um,
Impressive.
and we could have raced that day. It literally, the job list was very small,
Yeah.
and sails up and off we went. A few tacks, got the kite up.
Yeah.
We were ready to go, and Rainer was there with us at that time, and took a deep interest in the build of the boat. The designer Ian was with us as well,
So
and
sorry, just to step back there for a second. The difference between say that Scoundrel boat, the 1986, I think you said was, and said his new boat. How has the design changed a lot? Is the design different across the different 6 meter boats?
really good,
What's the
really good question. Um, the what I was blown away in 2023 in cows that we had this 1986 varnished, beautiful. Yeah, it's like a
yeah,
piano,
what you
this
are?
thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Boat, and the we're up against very modern boats, and modern design houses as well. 1K had a
yeah,
boat, Stella, with Violeta Alvarez. Momo was there, which was a Udall Vrolic design,
yeah,
really built in very in a very modern sense,
yeah,
and sailed really well with Dieter Schoen, the Momo sort of sailing dynasty, really.
yeah,
And yeah, here we were in this almost 40-year-old varnished boat, and extremely competitive.
yeah.
And it just speaks to this 6 meter rule, this development rule, that's possible, that you can compete
Yeah.
in a.
Not all wood though. Isn't like the new Momo and stuff? Are they all wood or are they?
No, they're not. No, they're not allowed to be carbon.
Yeah,
Carbon's banned, but they're built with S-glass, and with with the modern building techniques and stuff. It's
Yeah,
almost as
yeah.
good as carbon. It's a bit heavier and not much softer. So yeah, they're the latest and the greatest, basically.
Okay.
And pre-preg, epoxy pre-preg resin. So yeah, so that was the conditions in Cowes were fairly mild. Easterly winds, beautiful weather, and pretty flat seas, and that helped. There's no
That's
doubt that
that's
helped.
that's the soul though, isn't it? All year round, isn't it? The flat water, beautiful conditions.
Yeah.
You're saying like a local now. You're
We,
saying
we,
this about
we, we
cows.
wish we wish Simon. We remember those days long, but anyways, so the new boat, and I just before I go into that, I should touch on the fact that Ian Howlett. I don't know exactly how old he is, as too rude a question to ask, but working with such a noted yacht designer, like back in the 70s and 80s, where the meter boat, like the 12 meters, were in the America's Cup, and that was the real hotbed of yacht design at the time. And Ian was a noted, like almost like a whiz kid coming up through the ranks back in those days, and credited with designing one of the best 12 meters of all time that was going to roll into the next cup following Perth 87. um, and yeah, so obviously a lot of water's passed under the bridge since then, but collaborating with, or just just being in the same room as Ian, and asking him uh, why he'd done things in a certain way on the hull and the keel and so on, and just getting his, and very forthright. He's incredibly switched on, for a guy in his 80s,
Yeah,
very sharp, um, strong opinions, but based on a lifetime of experience, of all sorts of experiences, and just sitting with him in the evenings over dinner, and listening, and asking about some of these experiences was just a wonderful experience and a highlight of the year.
oh,
You know.
he's done it all.
Yeah, so and being there also with Reiner, who's like the patron saint of the 6 meter class, with the amount of boats he owns and the people he supports in the class as well. And and Reiner's a serious guy, Swiss, but seeing the sort of the joy on his face, and in his body language when it came to watching this thing take shape, and being part of it. It was like one of his life ambitions too, building a new 6 meter after owning so many older boats.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Um,
So,
Bottom line is we took it over to the States. It made
yeah,
it. It got there on time.
yeah,
Quite a few refinements going on, led by Dave Hughes and the sailing team of Jamie Hilton and Mike Marshall, Tim Healy, and Addison Caproni. They're in Rhode Island, and then for a couple of weeks, and then it went down to Sewanaka, and at the Sewanaka Corinthian Yacht Club. What a venue that was! And the guys ended up second. Just sort of cut to the chase on that. Really good regatta. Sailed in light to moderate winds.
yeah,
The guys ended up second in a very competitive fleet.
yeah.
Momo won, another brand new boat, so massive credit to those guys.
I
And
got the better end of that actually. I was out with Marcus Visa the week after. He was on Momo, and he bought us for a night in the in Mel's in Saint Tropez to celebrate his, I don't know how many world championships he's won at this stage. So I got the good end of that for you.
Yeah, look, great competitors. Marcus is a big part
Yeah,
of that team and of Dieter's sailing in general. Dieter had now also owns an Etchells and gets himself over to Miami with his crew, including Marcus. And my good friend Fritjof Clean, or Frida as we know him from the Star class, and they asked me to help put together an Etchells for them last year. And I was just with them in Miami, just gone.
Yeah.
So there's a real commitment there to just get back into some sort, or just working on the skills and the teamwork in that class. But yeah, wonderful character. Oh, I mean, Marcus, what a character! Growing up, there was the America's Cup and there was the Admiral's Cup, and the America's Cup was the pinnacle of sailing, if you like. But the Admiral's Cup was a pinnacle of offshore
Yeah.
sailing
Yeah.
and design. And it had kind of petered out, unfortunately. It reached its a teams event for countries, 3 boats per country, and it reached its peak in the 80s. And then it petered out due to all sorts of things, really. Costs certainly was one. It was always held in Cowes here where I live, where I am now. And there were potentially, well, there were more appealing venues throughout the Mediterranean, Porto, for example,
Yeah.
to attract owners. And probably too much of a good thing, possibly at the time. It petered out, and we'd heard that it was coming back, 3 or 4 years ago, and it had built momentum, and what was conceived was a two boat team event, again, representing clubs actually more so. And I was lucky enough to be contacted by the New Zealand team, or specifically the small boat of the New Zealand
Yeah.
team, to help them in this venue in Cowes as a coach. So I worked with the Callisto team in a 42 footer. The 2 boats were the small boat was in that sort of 40 to 44 foot range,
Yeah.
if you like, based on the IRC handicapping. And the bigger boats in general were TP 52s.
Yeah.
So we were teamed up with Caro,
Yeah.
so Caro and Callisto for New Zealand. And I just had one of the most positive experiences in my career so far, actually, and that was it had many elements. There was a technical component where the boat was fully refitted
How do
and
you
also
what's it?
changed around to suit what the Fastnet race
Can
would
you
be.
remember what that boat was before? Was that dark and stormy, or is that?
Yes, it was Dark and Stormy
Yeah.
most recently.
Yeah.
It was Genie before that,
Oh, it's
and
Morty's boat.
Morty owned it. And before that, oh gee, I can't remember the name of it. But it was Morty had and the name will come to me hopefully.
Yeah.
But Morty had bought it, and he owned that boat actually through COVID as well, and that was
Yeah.
another project ticking away there over at
Yeah.
his cows.
Yeah.
He made quite a few mods, and then in its life as Callisto, it got modified more extensively.
Yeah.
Probably it got switched to twin rudders.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think a lot that boat in particular was probably a bit nosy, a little bit out of control,
Yeah.
downwind in breeze, or even reaching, heeled over. And the twin rudders were a big change.
Yeah.
A few other things done. So that technical part of it, not that I had anything to do with those decisions, but I was certainly there. We did a camp in Valencia and got to Cowes as well. Did some
Yeah.
sailing here in May, and it was quite a long lead up.
Yeah.
And but I think mostly the people element was
It,
really cool
it,
on that
it was
one.
impressive when I heard the crew for Callisto. I was wondering where they're going to put all these people. It's
Yeah,
where
it
you can. I didn't know where. I didn't. Yeah, 'cause I heard it was Moose, Nasher, Soapy. It was D Barker was up.
yeah, Dean Barker
Yeah, I was wondering
was
where
part
they're
of
going to
it.
put all those 4 people. Then obviously Moose, and then Daggy was in there as well. And Moose.
Yes, and yeah, James Dagg or Daggy,
Yeah,
one of the most experienced sort of sail trimmers in the sport.
yeah,
And Mike Sanderson, or Moose as we know him, another legend of the sport, around the world race winner. Gee, I went on and so look. Firstly, though, or primarily, should talk about the owner and our leader,
Yeah,
Jim Murray,
yeah,
an American gentleman from the Chicago area, who whose really vision uh, created this team and or had in his mind a desire to do an Admiral's Cup when he was younger and then had the opportunity to take it on, and then through family he there's some New Zealand connections there, and ended up representing New Zealand. And part of that too was his sort of I guess his sailing guy was a fellow called Jared Henderson, as that we know as Beach, was helping Jim with various boats over the years, all under the Callisto banner. And may well have been Beach that sort of put this idea in Jim's head of coming to Cowes, coming to the Solent, and representing at the Admiral's Cup, and it became then a New Zealand representation, and gee, they didn't hold back, as you say, the good and the great of New Zealand sailing, as well as in a strong degree of local youth as well, which Jim was big on, and
and
and and
it seems like
females as
it seems
well.
like something that he's carried on. He's currently smashing his way down the Tasman coast at the moment, doing the Sydney Hobart race in his 52 footer. But the same, because I know Keane is staying with him, Keane Guilfoyle, an Irish guy, and you've come, you know Keane anyway.
Yes,
And
I do. Great guy.
he's 29. He obviously he's very experienced from the 29, but I know they have something like 4 or 5 under 30s in the boat. Ben Childerley, I think Sal and Callisto as well. He's down there with them. Rebecca Coles. I think there might be one or two other people as well. So that's the he's kept, even though there's no need, it's not like the Admiral's Cup where you had to have X number of people under the age of 25, whatever it was, and a female. He's actually kept that going to the Sydney Hobart race, even though there's actually there's no requirement to do it. So obviously something that he wants to push. Fair play to him for doing that.
Yeah, he's passionate about that,
Yeah,
Jim. And even within the shore crew, there's two young females who are forging their own kind of paths, if you like, in the sport of sailing, and
yeah,
Jim's given them the opportunity. They're working hard, and also sailing the boat quite a bit in deliveries and training and being part of debriefs and so on.
yeah,
So no, it's very cool, and just going back to the Admiral's Cup, and the lead up. I'd never worked with Dean Barker before, but always, he's a legend really of our
yeah,
sport, and the not only the opportunity to work with him, but the time that we had together, and his own leadership style was very, very impressive. Always had seen Dean as fairly aloof, I guess,
yeah,
but to be on the same team with him, and to see him operate and to see him lead the team with zero, with huge gravitas and knowledge and experience, but zero ego, was fantastic. He grew up with like Moose, um, and so he was quite comfortable and was really able to express and do his job well.
yeah,
And he, he was great. He pulled me aside a couple of times, and we talked about what he'd like from me. Listen, weirdly enough, it's you don't get a lot of that um,
yeah,
in this game. But Dean had the empathy, I guess, to know what the coach is feeling, and he was making sure that I was fully immersed as part of the sort of sailing team loop, so that
yeah,
I could do a better job and
yeah.
help them. And again, Jim was a big part of that. Jim gave one of the best speeches I've ever heard, actually, in sailing over dinner one night, that just had the effect of settling everyone down. and taking away the kind of maybe the anxieties of people trying to prove themselves. But the way he delivered this speech, so everyone dropped their shoulders and felt like, okay, that's pretty cool, and it was along the lines of, look, you're here because you're the best at what you do in the sport, or at the top echelon of what you do in the sport. Um, Relax. You're all hardworking. I have no doubt we're going to outwork everyone.
Yeah.
You're committed to excellence, but please, let's just relax. Let's work together.
Yeah.
And importantly, he said, I really want to enjoy this journey. So let's make sure we do enjoy it. And it really set the tone. That was quite early on in the campaign. So anyway, there was a channel race across to France as the first race.
Yeah.
And it was basically like an overnighter. Most boats finished
Yeah.
at first light,
Yeah.
or certainly were finished by 9 or 10 in the morning. And then there was that possibly that day and the next day were sort of non-race days, and then there was 3 days in a row of
Yeah.
inshore racing on the Solent. And probably should just come back to that the event fell away, possibly because of, as I said before, too much of a good thing,
Yeah.
and too repetitive, perhaps. But there was still a strong desire, or because of that long break, 20 plus years break,
Yeah.
there's a strong desire and a bucket list amongst this ownership group of these days of getting back to the cows, getting back to the really challenging, um, conditions in the Solent, which include obviously a strong tide, and the tough sailing offshore, in this region. So yeah,
Yeah.
so we'd come in after these inshore days of, which is that's my strong suit, I guess. It's what I do all the time, which is day sailing and racing around marks, bit of windward leeward, bit of sort of passage racing, if you like, around the Cairns and the Solent. We'd debrief, but always part at the end of the debrief, Ian Moore, Soapy, our navigator, would open up the weather for the Fastnet race, which was only it's going to
Yeah.
follow immediately after.
Yeah.
And that's not really my strong suit or background, but it was fascinating to watch that, but also the discussion around it with such a deep amount of experience within that group, and particularly with Moose,
Yeah.
a around the world race winner, but he's done loads also since. And again, just coming back to the humility within that group, where there was no ego, where anyone felt they could say anything or ask the silly questions, and things would be discussed. So yeah, a real highlight. And I should also say, remembering back with kind of really nice memories of some of the banter with these guys. These Kiwi hard edged Kiwi sailors, but the banter which sort of brought it all back to, no one
We
could
know.
get too big for their boots, so to
Yeah,
speak.
and I can guarantee you, I know exactly who's been leading the charge when it comes to the ripping everyone a new one. I can guarantee you, I know who that has been.
Well, lots of laughs anyway. Bottom line is, and again, just the last thing really was being a part of the Fastnet build up with the team, and the final kind of chat before leaving the dock on the morning of the Fastnet start, and helping cast off the lines and stuff was quite emotional, actually, in a way, as a supporter and a coach.
Yeah,
But I did, that I did enjoy getting into bed that night, I must say.
it was. I've never seen that because we were hoping for an absolute heinous fastnet. As much
Yes.
as I didn't want to be out in a heinous, northeasterly, just getting abs, 25 knots, massive seaway in the RC, we would be a lot more comfortable in a Volvo 70 than people on
Yes.
a GP42, and, you had small jolt boat, things like that. Like, so we were hoping for a massive forecast, like, and unfortunately it didn't come true. I've never seen the Irish Sea so flat in my life. We had a beautiful glamour, kind of beat down the south coast of England and beautiful coastline along there. And then into the RC, the second day on Sunday was flat calm with the whole RC. Got on the Fastnet rocking Monday night, was it? And then yeah, jibed the whole way down and finished sometime Tuesday. I must have finished Tuesday morning sometime. My days must be off. But anyway, back to Cowsand. We got back to Cowsand on Tuesday night. But yeah, I was really hoping for a proper heinous fast net, but unfortunately didn't get it. I think it would have been interesting to see how that had shaken everything up in the overall standings. But I think you guys were leading. Like you guys you guys smoked the inshore. It was impressive to see.
Yeah, yeah. The guys, the team did a wonderful job. Won
Yeah,
the Channel race, the first race, and then performed consistently enough through the inshores. A pretty tricky northerly pattern on the Solent. Yeah, and I should shout out to the Monaco team and the Hong Kong team
yeah,
who finished first and second in the Admirals Cup overall. And there's going to be another Admirals Cup in 2027,
yeah.
which people are gearing up for in a big
Oh,
way already. And it was, yeah, I think not a coincidence that the two teams that were under one banner, if you
yeah,
like, I guess one owner, and two boats, one team,
yeah,
were first and second, and
yeah.
and that probably set the template, I think, for success. The controllable sort of
Yeah,
environment for both teams.
I'd agree.
And already the Italians are gearing up in that way. And there's a lot of chatter about
There's
new boats being built and
there's a huge amount of boats being built. I've been talking to people there the last few months, and yeah, you said presumably that's the Django's, isn't it? Are building it. I think that they've acquired one boat and they're building another boat, and then there's another guy out there that he's going to be building two boats, and another 40 footer being built down, I think, Green Marine at the moment. And there's a lot of boats being acquired or being built or rigs being built in Southern right now. And there's a guy down in New Zealand for a couple of months building three rigs, inshore, offshore rigs. It's crazy. I think it's really taken off. And like you said, I think the template of having the one owner under or the one campaign, whatever you want to call it,
yeah.
is a big thing. I just hope it doesn't push off because you had some other boats did very well in the mix. I think that I meant to look it up before we start talking. The Dutch boat.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
They had, I think if they had a decent channel race at the
yes,
beginning, they would have actually done very well overall.
yeah,
And that boat, I remember sailing against that boat. It's the same do you man Portman, isn't it? And he runs the whole thing.
yes,
As
yeah.
well as
With a youth
youth team, and
squad,
yeah, and that boat's
fantastic.
been around. Yeah, and that boat's been around for a while. Like, so I remember racing against that when I was sailing, I think, on Tonnerre de Breskens, the Care 46, because that's the thing that nearly assisted or something to.
Yes, yeah,
They had, but to me, that kind of that also showed highlighted that boats individually can do very well. You don't have to be
yes,
fully proed up
absolutely.
with, the whole, with the likes of what Callisto was, whatever. There's also room for the boats in there as well. So that because you'll always want to have other boats in there. You're not just going to have everyone, throwing everything at it, building new boats. You want other boats to be able to go in there and enjoy the event as well, and that's important
I,
for the
I think so, Simon. And I was buoyed to see that with that young Dutch team.
yeah,
Because and that you had to remember as you were watching the inshore series, or I had to remember that's the Fastnet is the vast part of the points, and for the Admiral's Cup, and a lot of boats they gear themselves toward the Fastnet, and
yeah,
the inshore part of it, which gets a lot of eyeballs, was what was not their primary focus, and so you'd see like that team go around the inshore and we're not doing well. But their sales, the team, how the team had trained over the past couple of years was all geared towards offshore sailing, and you just saw them do better and better and better as each day passed, really, each
Yeah,
phase of the race passed, which is cool to see, and again, that's the diversity of the sport. And as is so highlighted through an event like the Admiral's Cup, so it's retains a lot of interest in that
yeah,
way. I'm
yeah,
just about to embark on my 8th year with Peter Duncan in the Etchells, sailing with Peter Duncan and Mark Mendelblatt, leading up to the Worlds in San Diego in May. So we've got a pretty strong lead up
yeah.
through the Miami series, and then going to do 3 events over in San Diego. Um, and what else we got there, Simon? We're going to put the glasses back on, getting old.
Bit of
Um,
match racing. You're telling me you're out match
well,
racing.
yeah, that's today actually. There's a match race, cows match racing. The entity's called. That's Graham Sunderland,
Yeah,
who's got always had a huge amount of energy with anything he's done and bringing people in and helping people move through the sport, particularly the youth sailors here in Cowes. So yeah, the focus is on match racing. I've done it the last couple of winters. Been out there once already, just before Christmas,
yeah.
and with one of your Galatea crewmates, actually, Andrew McLean, was out there in a coaching capacity. It was fantastic to
He
see.
was great. Animal was coaching, was he?
Yes, yep, yep. Just lending his weight to some local stuff, and helping to inspire the youth, really. A guy of his,
Ah,
fantastic,
I'd
incredible
love you to know about the
background.
new cup stuff. Yeah,
One of the key people in the whole Ineos America's Cup
yeah.
campaign. So yeah, and anyway, we're out there again today. The temperature's going to peak at 6 degrees, I think. With the wind chill taken off, it's going to be about 2. So that's in about 2 hours. I better start getting dressed.
And what's the weather or what's the wind going to be like?
11 knots, 11
Oh,
knots from the northeast. So it'll be good. It'll be chilly, but looking forward to it. And yeah,
yeah,
I think throwing around these sonars and match racing with the I mean, I shouldn't call them kids, but with
compared
these
to America.
um, is and then the chats afterwards and trying to help pass on perhaps a bit of wisdom and
Yeah,
experience, but also getting tied up in knots myself. It's keep it helps keep you sharp. So you're
yeah,
looking forward to that and
yeah,
a couple more of those before I leave.
yeah, yeah. Good
Yeah,
plan.
and anyways, it's another sort of diverse years. Some starboat campaigning coaching with Jack Jennings and Pedro Truche as they lead up to the Bacardi Cup, 5.5 meter sailing and coaching. Morty's not planning on doing the Worlds this year,
Yeah,
but we're doing some local sailing here in Cowes. It's a big year here. It's the 200th year of Cowes Week, so there's all sorts of events and
wow.
festivities planned for that, and some more 6 meters in the Europeans a bit later in the year. So yeah, we'll probably
Tell
run
us,
over time, Simon, but yeah, I mean, anyway. Looking forward to
yeah,
another
yeah,
diverse and busy year.
of course, yeah, yeah. And tell us, do you which do you prefer? Do you prefer racing or actually being on the boat or coaching at this stage?
Look, well, thanks for that. It's a really good question. I I'm being sort of reminded more and more that I'm not getting any younger.
Sorry,
I
that's all
turned
it's about.
59 in January, and definitely whether it's real or imagined, I'm seeing the finish line in terms of my ability to perform a role as a professional sailor on a small boat, which then that's my passion. So whenever I can sail, and in particular sail a small boat, I'm taking up that and loving it.
Yeah,
What do I prefer? Probably the sailing, but really, I think it's down to I love supporting teams. I love
yeah,
seeing people, achieve their goals in sailing and get better each day as we're at events and that sort of thing. So don't really have a strong preference. It's more to do with who you're with, I think. And the culture that surrounds a given team.